Hello friends, family, total strangers. Today's video is going to be on van builds. Should you do just a simple build or should you go elaborate right off the bat? And before I get into that, let me just say about the live stream. I asked in the last video if you want to see a live stream. I've decided not to do a live stream for a couple different reasons. I would say the main one is that I just don't like live streams. As a viewer, I don't like them. And I thought about doing them because I've had several requests for it. But in the end, I'm pretty much trying to make what I would want to see, and I don't want to do a live stream. I mean, they're clunky. The person's sitting there, trying to read emails, and editing is good. Even as little editing as I do, editing makes a much better final product. So I won't be doing live streams. I would love to connect with people, so I would love to do meetups in the future. Would be fun. But live streams, not so much. I would also like to say sorry for I haven't really been keeping up with the comments the last couple videos. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've responded to any comments the last two videos. But I'll try to be on that a little better. I've just been in a little bit of a funk and not really feeling pouring a bunch of time into the channel. But I'll try to do better for this one. But yeah, so let's get right into it. I think really what this video is going to be about is me trying to talk you out of doing an elaborate build right off the bat when you move into a van. Or even buying an expensive pre-built like road tracker or RV or like an expensive first option. Whatever your first vehicle is, whatever your first thing you're going to be in, you're moving out of your apartment, you're moving out of your house, you're moving to the mobile life. I highly encourage you to go relatively cheap right off the bat. And there's a few different reasons for that. I would say the most important reason number one is you don't know what you want yet. You think you know what you want. Before you actually live mobile, like you think you know what you need, you whether you think you need a shower or a bathroom, or whether you think you need a fancy kitchen, specially made kitchen countertop with like wood panel walls and insulated out the wazoo. You may think you need that, and maybe you will need that, or maybe you will want that, but maybe you won't. And if you spend all this money right off the bat doing this expensive elaborate van build, you end up spending $20,000 on a build. Well, that $20,000 could have got you a whole lot of travel time and a whole lot of other awesome experiences. Anything that you would want to do, really. Yeah, you don't know what you want yet. And you probably need at least a year, maybe 2 years of mobile living, I think, before you should invest in it. Because, you might spend all this money, you might spend all this time doing a build, you get out on the road and you don't even like it. You just wasted thousands of dollars and a bunch of time and a bunch of effort. And yeah, don't do that. Just go simple. Just go simple off the bat. And I'll get into that in a few minutes. I would say reason number 2 is you lose your flexibility when you do an elaborate van build. And what I mean by that is if you have major engine problems, if you have all this stuff, you are pretty much stuck. Your van is a money pit. Your vehicle, whatever, is a money pit. And if you've already spent all this money on it, you just have to keep spending that money to keep going forward. As opposed to if you have a cheap build and there's a $4,000 repair on the van, maybe you could just get rid of the van and start over. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you have more options and more flexibility if you have a cheaper van and a cheaper build straight off the bat, rather than going with something really elaborate and really expensive. Now, that being said, you do want a reliable vehicle, but you don't need a Mercedes Sprinter. You don't need a brand new, ProMaster. And you don't need an elaborate build inside of it. So item number 3, Bob Wells did a video on this, but really if you do a van build, you can't insure it. So insurance companies have very strict policies for what is an RV. Now you can insure it as a car, and that means any of the car things are insured, but all of that work, all that money you put into the build is, you can't really insure that. So if you get in a car accident and you spent $20,000 on that build, you're pretty much out $20,000 and insurance isn't going to cover it. And, don't take my word for that. Research it. But Bob Wells did a great video and he did an interview with an insurance salesman and he talked about this. So, yeah, and you might hear an anecdotal story of how somebody, got in an accident and their insurance covered it. It's going to vary greatly depending on state and whatnot, but it's just not worth the risk at all, I don't think. Because essentially insurance companies make money by getting payments in and not putting payments out. So they're going to use any technicality they can to not pay out. And so, especially if it's a very valid one, obviously they want a decent customer service, they want a good reputation, but yeah, they're pretty much looking for excuses to not pay out. And you can't get your van build insured as an RV, as everything in there. So before I get any deeper into this, I'm actually going to take you to my footage from the weekend. I went to Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument, which is in central southern Arizona, kind of down near the Mexican border. It was awesome. I should note it was extra awesome, and I didn't know any of this before I went down, but the wildflowers just started blooming. You can see some of them behind me. And there had just been a big rainstorm and snowstorm up in the mountains a couple days before I got there, and so there was creeks and waterfalls and everything. It was awesome. So I'm probably just going to show you 2 of the hikes I did. I did 4 hikes, and I'll save the other 2 for another video. But yeah, let me shoot you that footage. This is the Ajo Mountain Drive. This is pretty spectacular. I think these are poppies. This is the Arch Canyon Trail. This pretty awesome so far. And the wildflowers too here are amazing. Not sure what the gunfire in the background is. So what I thought was gunfire was actually a work crew working, and it was just echoing up the canyons every time they would hit the rocks and move the rocks. Not gunfire. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a desert as lush as this. This is amazing. Definitely wasn't expecting running water through here. Pretty cool. A little bit of snow. Well, that was a butt kicker, but yeah, what a great hike. This is amazing up here. This is the Arch Canyon Trail. This is the Oregon pipe cactus, after which the park gets its name. This is the only place in the United States where they grow in the wild. They get very large. I think this one's probably about 25 feet high, somewhere in that range. This is really cool, all the Oregon pipe cactus growing right on the side of the mountain. I read something about this at the trailhead. I just don't remember what it said. Wow, I'm 2 for 2 on the hikes today. This is awesome. There's a lot of history up this canyon, and this river is completely unexpected. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the Alamo Canyon Trail. I have to say the whole park has been awesome, so I've really enjoyed it so far. So there's a cave in that rock up there, and there's a cactus growing in it. Let's see if I can... That's as much as I can zoom in. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, let's get back to it. So I think a lot of people who make this decision to live in a van, they decide, I just don't need all this stuff. I want more freedom. So I'm going to get rid of it all and move into a van and have freedom. And so they'll sell their stuff and they'll take all that money that they got, even if they sell their house, and they're like, oh, well, I have $100,000 now. I'm going to spend $100,000 on a road trek. Or I'm going to spend 50,000 of that on a Mercedes Sprinter, and I'll spend 30 more thousand doing this expensive build. You're really kind of making the same mistake that you made before. Because, depending on the reason that you decided to live the van life, to live the mobile life, if freedom is the ultimate goal and downsizing and just living a simpler life, you're getting rid of all that crap and then you're creating this new thing. You're putting so much money into a van build when the whole philosophy behind it should be, at least in my opinion, getting rid of valuing valuing experience over possessions. And that's spending your money on actual life and not the crap around you. And, when you're pretty much just transferring one set of crap to a new piece of crap. Your van, your expensive Mercedes, elaborate woodwork, $1,000 kitchenette. You're pretty much trading one set of crap for another instead of focusing on the whole purpose and meaning behind the move, which is to have more freedom and more focus on experience. And all that money that you spend on this build, you could be out traveling and out, you could live for a year on $20,000 easily. I could anyway. I could live on $10,000. So I guess that's, don't do that. And kind of off of that point is, don't go into debt to do. I think to me the biggest value of van life is getting out of debt. And if you go into debt to do the lifestyle, I think that's a terrible choice. So if you get a ProMaster on payments, and you're paying however much a month for a new Dodge ProMaster or a Transit 350 or something, I think that's just a terrible idea. Because again, the whole value to living this lifestyle is freedom, and there's the more debt you have, the less freedom you have. And I think you're just so much better off buying. You can buy a reasonably good vehicle, I mean, that's in good condition, runs well, isn't going to give you a lot of mechanical issues, reliable, you can get that for a few $1,000s, $5,000. You don't have to pay $40,000 for a brand new vehicle. And putting yourself in debt like that is, again, I think, kind of going against the whole reasons why you would want to live this lifestyle. So, and, you know, take this for whatever you think it's worth. If you disagree, that's fine. If you want to buy a new vehicle and that's what you want to do and you want to do an expensive van build, go for it. This is just my opinion. You know, take it for whatever you think it's worth. And I would say my last point here is this, it's not a house. When you buy a van or an RV or a trailer or whatever you're buying, it's not a house. It's not going to appreciate in value. And odds are you're not going to have it for the next 30 years. Whatever you end up with, you know, you have to not think of it as a house. You have to think of it as a vehicle. What's the longest you've had your primary vehicle for, as your primary vehicle? For me, the longest I've ever had a vehicle is 7 years. But I've had one for 5 years, and then several others I've just had for like 1 or 2 years. So I would say max, whatever you decide to move into, you're probably only going to be in for, 2 to 5 years. So keep that in mind. If you spend all this money and all this effort on doing this elaborate build, yeah, it's not going to appreciate in value. It's in fact going to decrease in value over time. And it's, yeah. I mean, and when I moved into a van, I had a really simple, I mean, I wouldn't even call it a build. I had a single-size, twin-size futon mattress, a storage tote, and then my solar panels and a refrigerator on top of the battery box. And that was pretty much my build, and I had storage above the driver's seat. And that's what I had for the first year. And after that, I kind of figured out, kind of what I wanted, how to get it better organized. And I did a slightly more elaborate build with my brother's help, my brother Travis. But if I had done a build right away, like a real build, I would have done a bunch of unnecessary crap and I would have been pretty unhappy with it. Because I thought I knew what I wanted. And luckily, I am lazy and completely unskilled. And I just ran out of time. So I didn't do the build that I wanted to do initially. But what I ended up with was a year on the road to figure out kind of what I wanted out of my van build. And I think that's a great way to do it. And if then you want to do a more elaborate build, go for it. But even then, I wouldn't go too elaborate, and I wouldn't worry about, I wouldn't worry about going crazy. It's not a house. It's a van. It's a vehicle. And you're living out of it, but it's not. You want it set up efficiently, you want it set up practically, but if you need like a really beautiful space to live in, you might just want to consider staying in a house. And, maybe that's, I don't know, just my opinion. I could be wrong. Take it for what you think it's worth. But yeah, that's pretty much my video. So I did want to say, if you did go fancy on your build and you really liked it, or you went fancy on your build and you really regret it, throw it in the comments. Let's hear about it. Let's have an open discussion. Because yeah, this is just my opinion, having gone with the a really simple build right off the bat, but if you did a fancy build and you're really happy about it and it's really enabled, you know, this lifestyle for you, throw it in the comments. I want to hear about it. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Thanks a bunch.